Hi there. So really quick announcement before the video starts. I finally have a Discord server that's available for all of you guys. Before I even say anything else about it, I can't really take credit for making it. Shout out to this person who's been following me forever, but I still don't know how to pronounce the username of. If you've joined a couple of live streams and if you've gone to video premieres and if you just read the comments on my videos, it's very common that people will ask me for a Discord server, and so this lovely human being reached out and said, hey, I know you don't know a lot about Discord, but I can help you with it. And I said, sure, that'd be awesome. And then a little while later, they messaged me and said, hey, so most of the work is pretty much done. And I was like, what? So huge shout out to them. I'll leave their Instagram and their YouTube channel linked in the description below. Go check them out, give them support, tell them Ollie sent ya. So it would not be possible without them. And just huge love for them. I can't say I'll be active on the Discord server very often, but I'll definitely try to pop in every now and again. It's mostly just a place where you guys can talk to each other, so I'll leave a link for that in the description box below. I hope you enjoy the video and the Discord server. It is time for another monthly OC, so strap yourselves in, get ready. I'm making this sound a lot more intense than it is. Here is Lowe. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm continuing to tell you about my soon-to-be webcomic series character things. I gotta say soon-to-be because it's not out yet, and people are going to be asking me where it is. You guys already ask me constantly when it's going to be out. I'm working on it, I promise. But also, since this is the second character, if you have not seen Delaney's video, I would highly recommend going and watching that first. I'll leave that in the iCard for you, and I say that because in this video I'm going to be talking as if you had seen that video. In that video I just talk a lot more about the story and go more in depth with that, and I also reference Delaney a lot in this video, so if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But this video isn't about Delaney, it's about Lowe. I'm really excited to be talking about him. I just adore this cast of characters. I might be biased because they're mine, but I adore them, and I hope that you're as excited as I am. So here is Lowe. His full name is Lowell O'Connor. He has a last name. In Delaney's video, I said he was the only one with a last name, but now all of the characters in this story have a last name, at least the main characters. So yes, his name is Lowell O'Connor, but he goes by Lowe. He is 25 years old, he is a male, and a werewolf. I'll talk a little bit more about that later because people asked about it, but he's a werewolf and he is very introverted. Lowe is the type of character that comes off very harsh and cold. He really puts on this front of being like a badass who doesn't give a fuck about anything. But honestly, the actions that he has throughout the story, they kind of are a direct contradiction to all of that because of the things that he does. It shows that he actually is a very caring person. He is much more stubborn and hard-headed than he is willing to admit. He refuses to acknowledge that about himself, but that is like his two biggest personality traits, honestly. Like I said, he puts off this front of being very cold and harsh, but he cares about people. Again, that's something that he won't admit about himself, and like, he can care for people, and he can get close to people. He just chooses not to. Or at least he chooses not to openly. If he does care about somebody, he will not admit it to himself, and he will never ever say it. Thus, how he is throughout the story. Lowe is the type of person where deep down he really wants to do good, but he really needs to be pushed to do that because of the fact that he's so stubborn and stuck on acting like this guy who doesn't care about anything. So even though he does want to do good and he wants to just be a good person, I guess, he kind of has to really be pushed to do that. Big surprise, the group does that. So, quick story synopsis. Why can I just say summary? So, in this world, there is humans, which are just people, and then beasts, which are cryptids, fictional creatures, anything along those lines. And for centuries, humans and beasts did not get along. The king of beasts has plans to kind of destroy the humans, because he's an ass. And so the goal of the main cast is to stop them and try and bring people together before anything bad happens. In terms of Lowe being in the story, he's like the fighter of the group, or at least like one of two fighters. He's like the main fighter, you could say. He is like the biggest of all of them. He is physically the strongest of all of them, so he's usually the one doing all the dirty work. I guess you could say. Before the story starts, he was a traveler. He didn't really like live anywhere. He just kind of went from town to town, just doing his own thing. Right at the start of the story, though, he is already traveling with Delaney, working towards that goal. There are 5 main characters in this cast, and out of all 5 of them, he seems to be the one who cares about the cause the least. So the other 5 characters, they're doing what they're doing because they are trying to fight for the change in the world. They are the ones who are like, yes, 100%, we are 100, let's do this. But then Lowe just kind of seems like he's along for the ride. He doesn't seem to go as out of his way as the other characters do in terms of trying to accomplish their goal. He's also a lot smarter than people tend to think that he is. I mean, to be fair, he can act like a dumbass. And again, since he does give off a certain persona, that's usually what people think he is. But he can actually be pretty smart and pretty clever. He can like put things together a little bit better than the other members of the group can, if that makes any sense. Like if there's something that's not adding up, for example, he'll be the first one to call it out and he'll pick up on it a lot quicker than other people can, or at least like within the main cast. That being said though, he is not a plan maker. He never gives any ideas. He's never the one to like go out of his way to do things. So he's basically just does what he's told, I guess you could say. If you were to ask him, he would be like, I don't listen to anybody, but he totally does. So yeah, that's the story and how Lowe kind of fits into that. If anything wasn't clear, again, go watch Delaney's video, and you can also comment down below. I won't answer anything that I feel I've already answered or is a spoiler, so just keep that in mind. So if I don't answer your question, it's either one of those two or I didn't see your question. But also, it's time for questions. Every single one of my OC videos, I will make a post on Instagram with a picture of the monthly OC. Then you guys comment anything that you want to comment about that character or for that character, and then I answer it in this video. I leave the post up for 24 hours and then I write them down and then I film this. We do have our 3 traditional questions for me to answer. He doesn't have a birthday or a zodiac sign. Again, feel free to comment down below any suggestions. Does he prefer ice cream cake or cookie cake? He prefers meatloaf. And use a vine to describe him.
Calling people daddy is gross. Stop kink shaming me. Kink shaming is my kink.
Next up, how do werewolves work in this world? So, if someone is a beast, they were born a beast and they will die a beast. It's just like how like your dog was born a dog and they will die a dog. It's like that. So it's like Lowe was born a werewolf and he will die a werewolf. No one becomes one thing. The way that you see him now, where it's like he has ears and a tail, that's like his base form, I guess you could say. People asked if he can make his ears and his tail go away. He cannot. That's just how he looks. And then he can turn into a more traditional looking werewolf when there's a full moon. So he'll turn into like giant wolfman. Wolfman is a different thing, but you know what I mean. That is like a conscious choice that he can make. It's not something that happens every full moon if he doesn't want it to happen, but he can only turn into that creature during a full moon. I forgot I picked this question. Does he always keep books in his pants? No, that was a one-time thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I shared a bit of the story, just a sentence, on my Instagram story, and he shoved a book in his pants. So yes, that happens at some point in the story. It'll make a lot more sense when you read it, I promise. But no, that was a one-time thing for him. If he were stranded on an island, what 3 items would he have with him? This was a very hard question, but I thought it was a really fun question. He's not a material person. Like I said before the story starts, he's a traveler. He's a rolling stone, I suppose you could say. Is that the phrase? He just travels. He doesn't have a house because he just travels from town to town staying there, and then when he gets bored, he leaves. It's just, he's a drifter. He takes the term lone wolf a little too seriously. You couldn't see, I just did a weird shimmy thing, which sounded weird with that voice. But anyways, so the 3 things that I came up with were, he has these twin daggers that he uses, so those, food, and then his coat, which I think summarizes him pretty well. Knife, coat, food. What is his biggest fear? Definitely being close to people or like opening up to people. Those are things that he just does not do anymore. He just doesn't, he refuses because of his tragic anime backstory. So those are things that he doesn't do anymore just because he just feels like it isn't worth it. You said in a past video that you really struggled with his design. How did you get his design to a place where you were happy with it? I'm not gonna get too in depth with it because this would turn into a very different video very quickly. I am planning on making an updated video on my character design process, so stay tuned for that. But the main thing is that I thought of his personality and I thought of werewolf characteristics, and then those are things that I tried to incorporate into his design. So like wolves and werewolves, like they're very hairy because fur. And so I wanted him to have long hair, that's why he has facial hair, that's why he has hair on his arms, because he's a hairy wolf. And then I would think about the type of stern personality that he has, and so he would be like bigger and bulkier and things like that. There's a lot of shape language. I talk about shape language a lot, so Lowe has a lot of squares in his character design, and just things like that. Those are things that I really tried to focus on, and then he popped out like that. He used to have freckles, that's a fun fact, but I got rid of them. Another question that I got that is kind of related to this is why did I choose this style of ears and tail? So if there is one main takeaway about Lowe's character that I want you to have from this video, it's that he puts out a front of being a jerk, but he's not a jerk. He just acts like a jerk. And so the rest of him kind of says that. He looks very angry all of the time, and like I was talking about with shape language, he has a lot of square shapes, and he's a very looking character. But since that isn't like all there is to his character, I thought that having these ears and tail, one, would help identify him as a werewolf, because I want beasts and humans to look different, which is why even if a beast looks very human, they're still like a beast and you can tell by looking at them. So that's how I decided on giving him wolf ears and a tail. And I wanted something kind of cutesy, I guess, if I'm being completely honest. So his tail is really fluffy, and then his ears are very round, and that is to kind of help make him look less intimidating, because again, he's not a jerk, he just acts like a jerk, and so having that contrast kind of helps balance it out a little bit. Does he howl at the moon at night? He doesn't howl at the moon at night, but he does have like more energy and is generally more powerful like at nighttime, and especially during a full moon. Like I said, he can do that werewolf transformation, but only during a full moon, but he's also just generally more lively at night. I have a couple of questions about Delaney, or at least related to Delaney. How did he become comrades with Delaney if he hates him? I can't talk about it too much, but basically the gist of it is that he wanted to watch him fail, pretty much. When he found out Delaney's goals and just like met him and knew him for like 30 seconds, he was like, wow, it'd be funny to watch him fail horribly. And so he was tagging along for that, but then he just ended up becoming a part of the group. What was his first impression of Delaney? At first he was very taken aback, then he was very put off, and then he really hated him. It was not a good first impression, because Delaney is a very loud personality, and Lowe is a very, dare I say, low-key personality. He's a very irritable person, and Delaney is the type of person that just ticks him off the most, so it's only natural that they wouldn't get along. And lastly, is there anything he respects about Delaney? Yes, so oddly enough, the things that he hates most about Delaney are also the things that he kind of respects the most. Because like I said, Delaney's very loud. He's very vocal about his opinions. He is very set on getting his goals accomplished, and he's very stubborn in that way. Delaney has his mind set on what he wants and how he's going to get it, and the fact that that's in his brain, it's going to get done, and that's something that Lowe, even if he would never admit it, really admires about Delaney. But it's also the thing he hates most about him, because Delaney's an obnoxious asshole who's very loud all the time. Moving on from those, why does he hate being called Lowell? He doesn't hate the name Lowell, he just hates it for him. Like, he doesn't think that his name suits him at all, so that's why he doesn't go by Lowell, he goes by Lowe, and that's why he doesn't tell people his last name, he just tends to just go by Lowe. He thinks it's much more suiting to him, because he thinks his name's kind of preppy, I guess. Even though it's not, but that's just who he is. Why? He's so angry, because he has a lot of baggage that he refuses to deal with. Does Delaney ever call Lowe a furry? It's funny, I think before I even announced I was making a webcomic, I had this tiny little sketchbook that I made, and by tiny I mean it was thin, the pages were fairly large, but I would use that to develop the main characters, and in the back I would make like a few, like no more than like two pages, like a comic of this every character interacting with each other one-on-one, just to figure out how they would work together. And Delaney calls Lowe a furry in theirs. So yeah, that has been a thing since day one. Within the actual universe, the furries wouldn't exist, I guess, because of how beasts are. So I guess within the world it'd be impossible for furries to exist, but I thought it was really funny, so I wrote it. Who is he closest to in the group? That is a tie. One of them is one of the characters I haven't announced yet, which I actually accidentally leaked their names in one of the past videos. Go find that. So it's one of those characters, not the girl, the other one. The one that's not a girl. So it's either a tie between them or Delaney, which again, he would never admit to, but they're a lot closer than either of them would like to admit. Is he the type to admit he's wrong? Absolutely not. Never, ever, ever, ever. If he was in Avatar: The Last Airbender or Legend of Korra, what type of bender would he be? I don't know exactly, but he would definitely be either an earthbender or a firebender. I don't know which one of the two, but definitely one of those. And lastly, by far the most asked question about Lowe. Does he like being scratched behind the ears? He does, but don't tell him I told you that. You guys had a lot of questions for Lowe. You had a lot of great questions for Lowe, so thank you for participating if you did. If you want to participate in next month's OC, which is going to be Noe, go follow me on Instagram because that is where I host these little things. And that's all I have about Lowe for you today, so let me know what you thought of him. Give this video a thumbs up if you like him, if you like the drawing, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them, but I can't get to every question. And if you're new here, why did you watch this video? You don't know me, and yet you're listening to me talk about my characters. Hi, I'm Oliver. This is something that I do every single month, but I also post other videos throughout the month, so go check those out. I'd really appreciate it. And you can also follow me on social media if you have not. They will be on screen now and linked in the description box below. I'd recommend following me on Instagram, again, because that's where I do things like this, and that's where I post my art, but if not, no biggie. And there will also be some videos on screen now and linked in the iCard for you to check out if you want. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next week. Bye.